You are listening to Pocketful of Diamonds, Book 7 of the Nadia Wolf series, written by Nicolette Pierce. Copyright 2016. Audio copyright 2025 by Pierced Heart Publishing. Digitally narrated with full cast of voices. Chapter 4. Ian couldn't shake the feeling that there was someone watching him. But no matter how many times he scanned the green canopy and terrain, there was no one to be seen. That didn't mean there wasn't someone out there. Hiding places were abundant in these remote areas. The hills were masked by trees and dense foliage. A rustling sound drew near. Ian turned to find the source, but there was nothing. He should have brought the gun, but he had just gone to the cabin for a change of clothes. He didn't expect to be gone long nor wander far from camp. "Please don't be a snake," he silently repeated like a mantra. The rustling grew louder. Ian was about to make a mad dash to escape whatever lurked in the wild when Manny jumped from a tree and onto his shoulder. Ian cursed and held his chest. After taking a breath to regain his faculties, he scolded, "You scared me half to death." Manny didn't seem to care and chattered at him, most likely begging for food. "Well, you're not getting treats now." Why was he talking to the monkey? It's not like they understood one another. Manny decided Ian's shoulder wasn't a good vantage point, so he climbed on Ian's head, tilting his hat to one side and settled in, as if he was king. Ian blew out a puff of air. Where in the hell was Gerard? Couldn't he keep an eye on the little ape? He shouldn't blame the monkey for his frayed nerves. It had been a week since the discovery, and he'd agreed with Gerard. The mine had to be protected. He would not draw out Gwen. In fact, Gerard and Ian wouldn't mind the spot at all. For now, they would pretend like they'd never found it. He'd already put in requests to see if he could claim the land at the river bend just for show. If others saw him trying to acquire land, they would think his was stripped. The fact that they hadn't sold any diamonds recently helped the mirage.
I knew there was a purpose for that ridiculously large hat.
Ian turned to find Gerard. It's not ridiculously large, it's standard size.
And perfect for a monkey.
Can you do something with him? Gerard shrugged.
I'll play a game of dominoes with him later. Right now, we need to talk.
Dominoes?
He's actually very good. I bet he'd beat you in a game.
There was a challenge there, but Ian squelched it. Being the younger sibling to two older brothers who seemed to be great at everything made him a bit trigger-happy when it came to taking on challenges or bets. Both were successful in their lives, happy and content. It made him realize how unsatisfied he was. Sure, he liked what he did. He loved the village. But just like within Sierra Leone, there was unrest that stirred inside of him. He couldn't quite put a finger on why. He chalked it up to chasing Gwen all over the world, only to come up short. He just needed a few more days to get back into the routine of mining and let his cares drift away. He had been happy when he'd first sifted through the muddy banks of the Njabo River. He had found a reason to stay somewhere instead of wandering aimlessly around the globe. It hadn't been aimless at first. Each destination had a purpose: to see the great pyramids of Egypt, to raft down the River Kwai, to scuba dive in the Great Barrier Reef. Those were reasons to keep moving, but with each item checked off his list, there were fewer reasons to keep moving and more reasons to question his existence. Sierra Leone had been an answer. If he did nothing more with his life, at least he could say he helped the people of Njamba. And being in his early 30s, he still had plenty of time to continue the work. "I'll take a rain check on the dominoes." Ian took Manny from his hat and plopped him on Gerard's shoulder. "You said you wanted to talk. What about?"
Jasper is in the village asking questions. Fode has been keeping him off the mine, but he knows something. His questions are too pointed for him to have guessed.
Ian tried to keep calm, but fear won over. If Jasper had even the smallest inkling, then so did the government, so did the rebels, and so did Gwen. He didn't know which of the three he feared the most. "We have to keep him quiet. Where is he?"
Fode has him at the canteen for now.
This could ruin us. We have to get him out of here.
He'll come back. You know how he operates.
Gerard was right. Even if they shook off Jasper today, he'd come back with more questions later. Let's see what he knows. Ian turned to head home. Let me change and I'll meet you at the bar.
Be quick about it. Not only can he spot a fake diamond at 100 yards, he's a human lie detector.
Then talk about the weather. Ian hurried off. It wasn't a good idea to leave Jasper in the village, bar or no. But if Ian showed up in his current mud-soaked attire, Jasper would know immediately that Ian was up to something. While it wasn't uncommon for Ian to help in the mine, nearly a daily occurrence actually, it'd be uncommon for him to go anywhere but home covered in mud. If he showed up at the bar looking like he did, then Jasper would leap to conclusions that were ultimately true. Since none of the huts had running water, he grabbed a bucket and dunked it into the rain barrel. After filling the bucket, he carried it to the back of the hut where he'd built a makeshift shower. It wasn't an ideal situation, but the water was always warm from the year-round heat and humidity. The rainwater felt like a treat after a long day. Before the last raid, Ian had searched for someone knowledgeable in groundwater and well design. Most of the rural areas relied on surface water. It wasn't safe nor clean. He'd have to resume his research soon. But that was a problem for another day. Ian dumped the water into the tank above the shower head. Ducking behind the curtain hung around the contraption, he stripped down and tossed his soaked clothes into the metal tub on the other side for washing. He reached up and turned the nozzle to release a slow but steady stream of water. He had learned to shower quickly. It was a must, with only a gallon of water to work with. In the beginning, there were plenty of times when he had to retrieve more water from the rain barrel so he could rinse out his hair. That came to an abrupt stop when he happened upon Jala one day. He was buck naked, dripping with water and soap. She stopped, looked at him oddly, and then went into the hut to make breakfast. It was not an experience he wanted to repeat. As the last droplet of water fell, he reached for the towel hanging on a nearby twig. He shook it out, making sure there weren't any stowaways. With the towel wrapped around his waist, he left the shower. Just as he was about to open the cabin door, he felt a presence. At first he thought it was Manny, but he was sure the monkey had left with Gerard. Someone was definitely watching him. But who?
Ian.
Gerard called over the voices of the Happy Hippo canteen. The bar still hadn't been fully reconstructed from the rebel attack, not that it was much to begin with. The concrete floors were still dirty, the high ceiling was still rusted metal, and the furniture was still wooden benches held together by rusted screws. The only real damage had been done to the brick walls. They now had gaping holes, which patrons could use as doors. Truly, the building should be rebuilt for safety, but it was low on Ian's project list. And the dilapidated building didn't stop the locals from congregating to speak their minds about the future, the past, and especially about politics. He figured they would still come, even if the canteen had been reduced to rubble. As Ian crossed over to Gerard, he noticed Jasper sitting at the bar near Fode. The dark man with a brightly splashed shirt nursed a glass of pollo while studying everyone. He spoke quietly to Fode, who looked uncomfortable with the exchange.
Fode has kept him occupied, but not for long. He's just waiting for us to slip up. This type of information would be worth millions to him. He's not going to go away easily.
He never does. Saba, Fode's lovely daughter, set a beer in front of Gerard. Ian had seen her with her hair in beautiful thick braids many times, but this time she wore a red haircloth that matched her dress. It brought out her unique eyes. While many of the Mendi people had dark, soulful eyes, hers were the color of lions. It was hard to look away when her gaze was pointed.
Thank you,
Gerard said, picking up the bottle. Saba slightly bowed her head and turned to leave. Are you working here, Saba? Ian asked. Normally she helped at the diamond mine, but he hadn't seen her on the field this past week. She glanced at Gerard before answering.
I am.
The early 20-something woman pressed her lips together.
Did Gerard not tell you?
No. When did you start?
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks? Since he'd only returned a week ago, he would have missed her leaving. Why hadn't Gerard told him? Were you unhappy? He asked, concerned. Ian knew the working conditions were tough, but he made sure that they were paid accordingly. Breaks were mandatory and meals were provided. He'd hate to think that one of Jala's family members was unhappy.
I was always happy to work for you, Ian. But sometimes a person needs a change.
Ian nodded in understanding. Most of his life he'd felt that same need calling to him until he'd made so many changes he no longer knew what he wanted. If you ever want to mine again, you're always welcome. She smiled and touched his arm.
Thank you.
As soon as she left, Ian turned to Gerard. What happened?
Nothing.
He shrugged.
You heard her. She wanted a change.
The canteen cannot be paying her as much as I did. Gerard shrugged again.
Sometimes it's not about the money. Besides, she's too pretty to be mucking around in the dirt all day.
It was true. She was pretty. But that didn't mean hanging out at a bar full of men was a good thing either. He'd speak with her again later. Right now, he had to focus on getting rid of Jasper. If he didn't, the talk with Saba might be pointless.
So, what do we tell him?
I brought a few of the diamonds. Maybe we can steer his attention to those.
It's a better idea than what I had.
What was your idea?
Stick his head in the mud until he finds his own diamonds.
Ian studied Gerard. The normally obnoxious and carefree man was tense, possibly even more so than Ian. But he knew once Jasper left, Gerard would once again be Gerard.
Let's get this over with before Fode faints.
Ian doubted the stout and hardy Fode would faint, but he was clearly uncomfortable. Ian followed Gerard, saying hello to the other patrons and trying to steer clear of being pulled into a conversation.
Ian,
Jasper said as a greeting. He didn't bother acknowledging Gerard. His straw fedora hat sat low on his brow.
I hear you found something.
Ian took a small cloth bag from his pocket and set it in front of Jasper. I always find something. You know that. Are you looking to buy? Jasper shook the diamonds from the bag into his hand.
This is it? I heard you found more.
He leaned in.
Many more.
Who told you that?
I have friends.
Well, whoever they are, they told you wrong. I'm actually looking for more land to mine. We've stripped ours. Ian pointed to the 10 rocks Jasper still held. This is it.
These?
His lip curled.
They're rubbish. Where are the diamonds you normally mine? The rocks, the size of my hand.
Ian shrugged. Like I said, it's stripped. If I don't get hold of the land at the river bend, I'll have to sell my house.
If it's as bad as you say, why not sell this land then?
Who would want it? I'll end up abandoning it before I find a buyer to take it off my hands. Jasper studied Ian as he downed the last of the pollo. He wiped his mouth with the back of his hand.
What if I take a look at the mine for you?
Gerard straightened. Ian felt as if someone was choking him. I don't think that's a good idea, especially since you aren't dressed for it. Jasper stood with a smile. He deposited the stones back into the bag and pocketed them.
I will sell these today and bring you payment in the morning.
Thank you,
I'll be better prepared to help you then.
he said, clapping Ian on the back.
I'm sure we'll turn up a rock or two.
Ian and Gerard watched as Jasper left. His laugh carried through the bar and settled in Ian's twisted stomach.
Why would you tell him he wasn't dressed for it?
Gerard snapped.
It was an open invitation for him to come back.
Ian let out a breath. It was the first excuse that came to mind.
We'll have to mine tonight to clear it out.
I don't think that's a good idea. Ian looked around the bar, trying to find an unfamiliar face. I think someone has been following me. At the hut, I could feel a presence. There was definitely someone watching me. If that's the case, then they'll see us tonight. Gerard frowned.
Did you hear anything?
I thought I did, but I'm not sure.
It could be your nerves.
Possibly, but I don't want to take a chance. Gerard's brow furrowed.
So, we let Jasper find the diamonds?
No, we'll have to come up with a different plan.
Like what?
Quarantine. Gerard lifted a brow.
Are you serious?
Ebola spread to the other villages not too long ago. No one would blink an eye if we have to quarantine Najamba.
No one except for Jasper.
He might suspect something, but he wouldn't dare come close.
He was here today. He might already think he's been contaminated. What's to keep him from entering?
He loves himself too much to take that chance. I bet he'll turn tail and head to the nearest hospital. Gerard frowned. What? Ian prompted.
Like I said before, he's a human lie detector. I don't think it'll work.
Then we have until morning to come up with a new plan. Gerard flagged the bartender for a bottle of Pollo.
We might need this.